What is happening? There we go.
It's like I should
Oh
keep
man,
playing.
you probably should. Yeah, guys, sorry, technical issues and technical difficulties. It's Monday. It's 5 o'clock, a little after, and it's time for After Hours Real Estate. The whole
Yes, it
point behind
is.
this show is if you're interested in real estate or mortgages or anything else in the Central Texas, Austin, Texas area, we got you. We got you covered. Chris Pesek, I'm a broker associate at Pesek Properties, and that's my buddy, Stephen Babcock. Stephen is a mortgage loan originator at Motto Mortgage. And
Same here.
so, yeah, from a real estate perspective, we got you covered. And
You
really
know,
random knowledge, too, for the most part.
just a quick thought, maybe you turn your video quality down. That might actually help.
I don't know if I can turn it down, but we'll try. Yeah,
Yeah,
guys.
before this, Chris was having some issues connecting, kept turning into blocky frozen images. And we did a speed test. I was like, man, I'm great. I'm looking good. Well, how about you? And he says, I got 0.5 upload. So yeah, his upload's kind of an issue.
Yeah, it's already it's down. It's down. So anyway, if this
No,
looks like
there we go.
crap, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening.
But I should look good. I should look
We'll
good.
figure it
I
out.
hope that's
Steve,
reassuring.
maybe
Except
you
for
might
the giant light behind me. Maybe I
you
can
might look good.
block that off
Uh,
somehow there. Yeah.
So anyway, guys, what we do is we talk real estate, we talk mortgages, and we typically drink some adult beverage because we are after
Yeah.
hours. I still have my trusty Pound Town glass. Oh yeah, and still drinking vodka drinks because it's that time of year. Good night, loving vodka, and my friend is still drinking the Heineken. All right,
Cheers, my
bud.
friend.
I like it. I like it. Well, man,
Stick with
you
what
want
works.
to stick with what works. That's exactly right. So speaking of sticking with what works, let's take a look at some let's take a look at some of my latest data poll. You down for that?
Yeah, it sounds great. Let's go.
Um I'll get it up and presenting here real quick. So what we've been talking about, hey, yikes. Um what we've been talking about is kind of coming to fruition, but we knew it would. And
Oh, I
everybody
can't
that
see the
follows
guitar.
us,
You gotta turn that away.
you got it?
My special needs kiddo ran up and banged my guitar and broke the bridge on it. And I said, I can't show that guitar. It's too painful. I had to like turn my camera away. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
I love them to death. I still love them after that, but it was a painful moment.
So
It's all
a
good.
couple of really interesting things, and this is Dripping Springs. Check out the active listings. So this is that time of year, right, when people start putting their house on the market.
Whoa, does that mean up 90% from this time last year?
No, this time last month, month over
Thank
month,
you.
month over month.
Thank you.
But still up 90%. But look at the difference in move-in ready homes. So we're up over 200 active listings, but only 39 of those are move-in ready. So builder inventory is going up, but I've got some interesting context on this that I'll get to on that. Under contract also up 33%. So we're seeing the buying cycle pick up this year, right? Days on market's dropping. Average sales price went way up. Well, I say it went way up. It went 8% up, but last month it dropped about 7%. So we're about stable for the year so far, about equal overall.
Mhm.
And then closings are starting to go up, right? So we had 29 last month. We had 20 in January.
It should
We're up
skyrocket
49.
next month.
Yeah, we should have quite a few more. Again, under contracts are 101 if those things hold. You know, that'll be good. But here's the interesting thing: the conversation that actually, before we do that, let's go and check out Wimberley real quick. Same story. Active listings are up, not as much, but there's not as much new home inventory in Wimberley, right? We're only, what is that, 25 new homes? Is that right? Am I doing my math right? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
25 new homes in Wimberley. So the number of listings isn't up as much. Under contract, okay, we're up quite a bit, 53%. Days on market dropping, same story. Average sales price going up. Wimberley's a small market though. 13 closings. All right, that can skew that number in a huge way. So I don't really look at that in Wimberley. It's just there because it's there. But again, closings up 30% month over month. So this is kind of what we expected for the year, right? We expected the year to be normal for all practical purposes.
It's weird to me that it is. We have. Do you remember that in December we had a dry month where we had no closings?
Yeah.
And it was the first in ever actually at this company that they'd ever had a dry month at all. No closings, but we have 22 in the pipeline right now. And so, I mean, the idea of going from 0 to 22 in just a matter of months is huge. So people have wind that either I think people have winds that the rates have gone down, or like I said last time, with that supply and demand really remaining constant, but the real issue being, what are the prices? I think people have you're only going to wait for so long,
Yeah. I mean, there are some people that have to move, and there's some people that really want to move, and it doesn't matter.
Well,
I mean,
but
again,
there's people that put off moving as well until it's
right.
too, we just can't stand it. All right, the kid was 2 last time we tried this. Now the kid's 4. I'm over this, man. We need more space. That kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, so as soon as you get wind of better rates, I feel like the people that were on the sidelines just jump back in.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, fair point on that. And the thing is, well, we'll get to that in a little bit. Let me talk to you about this builder conversation that I had today. Builders have evidently realized that there are a lot less people starting from scratch. The number of people they said that are coming in wanting to build a house and wait on the process is almost 0 right now. And
that is so interesting. That's all I'd ever want to do.
Exactly.
Why?
Right? So and that's the question, is why? And they don't seem to know. They know that their company and the other companies are going okay, and they're doubling down on starting construction and having spec houses ready to go.
I'm seeing the same thing. Half my neighborhoods now. The neighborhood is doubled in size, just based on trees being ripped down and roads being put in quickly.
Yeah.
And some of the trees have been ripped down for months. Nothing had been being done, and now it's like overnight. That they're just it's beautifying quickly. So it's I don't know if they got permits or if they just decided to start building again.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's interesting on a few notes on that for me, because, well, one, builders do this every cycle. Builders always overbuild, and then they pull back and there's no inventory, and then they overbuild and they pull back and there's no. I mean, it's a never-ending cycle with builders. They can't get out of their own way when they're doing it. So my curiosity is, okay, let's talk a little bit about interest rates. Are we fairly stable from the last couple of weeks?
Residential mortgage rates are stable from at least the last week. Officially online, I think they've moved like 0.1%, something like that.
Okay.
But the
stable.
Yeah, the most of the news articles I'm reading and the rates that I'm seeing are all just saying it's boring. We're waiting though, because this is not going to be boring this week. But from Monday to this Monday, it's been kind of boring. However, this week we have the jobs numbers coming out. We have the private payroll jobs numbers, and the fake, the government numbers, they're coming out too. They were just revised last month again as well. So again, not for the private payroll, for the government ones.
Yeah.
Not surprising anymore, right?
Consistently, yes, revised and revised and re-revised.
What I did think was fun, and I did not click on the article you sent me, but I think I sent you the one for the $1 commercial real estate building.
Yeah.
Did you know the top 3 cities that have the most vacant, office buildings? One of the top 3 is Austin.
There's no way.
It is the truth, my friend.
I didn't see that. Did you send that to me?
No, I did not send that one to you. I'll find it and send it to you.
Find that, because that goes against. I mean, hell, Austin's still leading the country, or in the top 3 in the number of jobs that are returned
who's
back
going to the office, right? So commercial real estate is not. So I've talked to some people in commercial real estate here in Austin that are like, "Hey, man, everything's fine. We're fine." And then I read these articles about buildings selling for $1, banks taking huge losses, and then I see articles about how we're, the most underwater out of pretty much anybody. And the two don't add up. And now we know that there's fake news out there, especially in our industry. And I don't mean fake news like the way Donald Trump says it. I mean fake news like the way that a journalist might have a 20-minute interview with somebody like me and then decide they know how to do mortgages and everything about down payments, and they start talking like they know what they're talking about. They don't. But
misinformed articles.
You can't fake bank numbers. And right now, our commercial real estate is in trouble. Regardless of what they say, there are some serious commercial office buildings with problems right now in Austin.
Yeah.
I think
what are the other cities? Because I would assume New York and San Francisco are leading the way.
I feel like you need to put me on mute or something, and I should go find this article.
No, you can find, or we can just chat through it. It's fine, and we can pop it up next week or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, or I should do the show on something other than my phone. That might be nice, and then I could look it up on detail.
And by the way, guys, one of the things that helps us out here is if we get audience participation. So if you've got questions, thoughts, or insights, please feel free to throw that stuff in there.
Yeah. And at the same time that you're telling me that there's no, what's up?
That's kind of blowing my mind. I hadn't seen anything about Austin having an issue with that. So that's.
And at the same time, you're talking about that not being an issue. Have you also heard that gold and Bitcoin have peaked? Bitcoin hit an all-time high.
Yeah. Well, I thought gold hit an all-time high as well.
Yep. I'm more interested in Bitcoin at this point. My God. Gold's going to go up anyways because the old people with all the money know gold and they don't know Bitcoin, but the new money knows Bitcoin and the institutional money knows Bitcoin.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see what's happening during a panic. But people are panicking. Every 100 days, we're adding about $1 trillion to the debt. Last year, we paid 800 billion. What was it? No, what was it? It was last quarter, I believe. We paid $800 billion in debt, and our economy grew by $300 billion. So, I mean, you don't have to be a genius to know that if you borrow 800 and you make 300, it's not gonna last much longer. And I think the big institutions are really starting to catch wind of it because we really are near that point of no return. And the point of no return equals stopping all programs and putting all money into debt. And that was never going to happen anyways. And so the reality is starting to come to fruition that our government will not be under control in terms of the spending.
I was reading an article on that today. Like we're basically at the point of the death spiral.
Right. I was telling you that we were there 3 years ago, maybe not 3, but at least 2. If you do some basic math, I think I sent it to you one time, but it's as though you make like $10,000 a year and you owe $300,000. I mean, it's good luck. That's what our debt is really looking like. And if you cut all programs, you instead of owing the 300,000, you'd owe like 250. I mean, it's just because the debt's still there. The rates are still there. We're gonna run into a gigantic issue this year because, God, there's a very large portion. I don't exactly what it is anymore, but very large portion of our government that is coming due and will have to be refinanced. So that could be really great for rates to bring this back to something that everyone can use. Because if the Democrats or the Republicans, I just saw this article today about how in the coming months, the Fed is going to receive a lot of pressure from Democrats and they're going to receive a lot of pressure from Republicans, but it's different pressure on each side. The Democrats should be pressuring them to lower rates so that our financial, government can refinance, keep spending. The Republicans are going to be pressuring them not to lower rates and to basically, stop the spending. The reality, I think, is that both sides like spending. If you look at the facts, regardless of the talking points. But at the end of the day, the Fed is going to be under a tremendous amount of pressure. They're going to have a lot of headlines this year, a lot of headlines.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. Let me kind of, I guess, backing up a little bit. Well, not really backing up. What does it mean?
What does it mean? What is it?
We know that the government's never going to stop spending.
Right.
We know that we're never, debt is a thing, but it's kind of like, because we're not going to ever pay it off. So what does it mean?
Well, for that, you have to look at history. And nobody has the answers. God, I wish I had all the answers, but I think I do, right? I think I know what I know, and then I've concluded my own stuff. But let's just be clear,
So
nobody knows.
you're talking about history of other countries that have found ourselves, or other empires,
Well,
or
yeah, I
whatever.
mean, what else can you do? What else can you look at? Well, we've never been where we are today, ever. I don't even believe that we were this politically divided during the Civil War. I mean, you had brothers in the same family that would fight on different sides. I mean, slavery was a big issue, obviously. But we still had this national sense, I feel like. Not that I was around for it, right? Today,
Right.
I feel like we've lost what exactly our country is, right? If you listen to both sides, I'm not really sure which country we're living in right now, and it's very strange.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's very strange. It's I don't know, and maybe this is just an old man ranting, right? As you get older, when you were younger, you'd hear the old guys like, "Oh, it's not when I was growing up. You people are all sick," and but it's like, well, maybe I'm turning into that guy. I hope I'm not. But things seem different today. I probably am. God. And like again, my favorite quote. Kids today, they just want to stay up and have sex and party and get drunk and use drugs, and they don't want to go to school. They don't want to work. And the next generation is doomed. Well, that was Socrates that said that. I'm paraphrasing here. But that's been a constant forever. You're just a human being if you feel that way about the next generation. But it does feel like this is different. But again, I'm sure that's what he meant too. So he probably didn't just whimsically, I can't speak, just say something off the cuff. But
the interesting, and the reason I say what does it mean is I kind of look at. I mean, you've talked about the BRICS nations and all this stuff, but I've got to wonder. I mean, we can look historically at other countries and empires and stuff that have found themselves in this situation. Okay, we know what happened. Okay, but I just have to feel like it's probably a little bit different now. Like you never had a major. I mean, you had major global empires, but that's different. And so I'm trying to figure out kind of
what's different.
Well, the fact that this is happening not only to us, but it's happening to most countries at this point.
What was the last
overspending and evolution? What's the word I'm looking for? Inflation. It's kind of happening across the world.
Right.
Everybody's spending way too much. Yeah, everybody's spending way too much. I just don't know that it's going to cause the fall of an empire at this date and time. Like I don't see it. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I think it's asinine how much money we spend on worthless shit. But again, and that goes for the government and for people. But
so typically, I mean, if I can't compare it to history, then I don't know how to really discuss it.
That's my point. And that's my
point. We have a large amount of corruption, from what I can see, on both sides. We have a large amount of spending. We have something called a baseline in government, which is look at what you spent last year, now add 10%. It may not be exactly 10% every year, but there is no such thing as add 0%. Keep it the same. They always add more money. Well, if you actually think about that from an investment standpoint, you're reinvesting upon yourself, which is compound interest, right? And so that's an unsustainable way to run government, but we've been running it that way forever. We still continue to. If you choose to freeze that, it's considered a budget cut. If you just want to keep it at last year's numbers, well, now it's called a cut because you're cutting by 10%. And politically, that just it never flies. People that have tried it before never do well. So I feel as though when your currency, God, what was it since Vietnam? The currency has been devalued by 85%, something like that.
Yeah.
When your currency finally gets so worthless that you need 10,000 to buy a gallon of milk or whatever.
Hyperinflation and all.
We know what countries look like under those conditions.
Yeah, I mean, right? Venezuela, right? Yeah.
On the surface, it sounds easy. Well, just pay me more, right? But there's a lot of fixed costs to things, and people stuck with the bill. And you inflate or deflate money quickly enough, and you could really screw up all those costs, and people can just lose their businesses. Yep. Right. So these commercial buildings, right, which not to pick on them, but they're easy right now. Right. Yeah. If you had bought a commercial building in, say, 2020, when when people were leaving the offices, you'd be like, oh, maybe I can get a deal, right? And let's just say you were making $100,000 a year on after the expenses. Well, next year these things go on a couple year terms, and then you refinance. Well, then a couple years later you refinance, and the rates aren't quite as good. And instead of making 100,000 a year, now you're going to make 60,000 a year. But hey, it's still profitable. Well, now today, if you go to refinance again, well, now you're going to lose $20,000 a year, right, on that same building. So what do? They let it go. They just say, well, bank, you can take it. It's not in my name anyways. It's not in Steven's name. It's in the corporation of Steven, right? Very different. That can take a hit. I can just close it down, start a new corporation, and we're fine. And they're fine, but the banks aren't. And the banks have all our money. The banks have all of our pensions. And that's, the big banks are looking like they're going to be okay. It looks like the small banks are the ones that are really going to take the hit on this one.
Well, of course. And that's what happens. And even if the big banks were going to take a hit, well, we're going to bail them out just like we did in 07 and 08.
Well, 09. You'd like to think you could, but with what? It's more of our own money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The same money that's losing value that you're then going to print off more of and then throw into the system. And eventually you just can't keep doing it and have some result that's positive, right? Eventually you crash the whole system. And I think what the argument of today is that you were seeing the beginnings of the crashing of the system by the banks failing, et cetera, and the rates going super high and trying to get this all under control. They keep doing temporary fixes to kick the can down the road, but do you remember back in 2008 when Fed chair, it wasn't Ben Bernanke, it was somebody else on his team though, but basically said they needed a bazooka from Congress to allow them to fight this terrible monetary issue they're going into? They said that. And the bazooka they were granted was the ability to print money, right? The Fed was, okay. And they printed, to get us out of the 2008 financial crisis, they printed $800 billion. That's what it took to restart the economy.
That's today, only 80 days.
That's just about. Today, we're going into debt by $1 new trillion every 100 days.
100 days, yeah.
So to think that this is close to 2008 would be a horrible mistake. We're nowhere close to those numbers. We're catastrophically far from those numbers. And so I know you don't like to compare it, like you just said, to Rome or England or the Dutch or somebody like that. But there's a lot of disturbing similarities. And if the next closest thing I can think of to compare it to would be a little bit of the 1920s and the 1970s mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
That would be best case scenario, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but again, what happens?
Well, you buy things that fluctuate with the currency. So in our case, and especially for the show, you'd buy real estate, right? If you own a home and we have to switch from the dollar to the new world dollar or whatever you're going to call anything new, I don't care what it is, you better have something to trade, right? And if your car had a loan on it, well, now you still owe that money. Right, you're in the negative in that new currency. They're going to flip it over, right? And they do the same thing with the house, but theoretically, your house should transfer in value to the new currency's value, right? Like if I were going to sell my home with Bitcoin, I wouldn't get more than a few Bitcoins, right? If that,
right? Yeah.
So
you're not going to get 1,000 Bitcoins. Yeah,
that'd be nice.
That would be okay. Yeah, and that's that's the thing that I've been struggling to wrap my head around. Like, yes, everything is going to hell in a handbasket. Yes, the currency is going to crash and all that. And okay, what happens?
So one of the first things that I've read about is that certain products will go up in price astronomically. And I think I'm losing you.
I can hear.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There you are. Certain products will start to go up astronomically. Like for instance, milk that was $4 would be $14, and the next week would be $28. But all the other prices stay the same, or aren't really going that high that fast. So you're thinking, well, it's probably okay. And then another product goes that high, and then a month later, there's afterburn from these two that have gone higher. The down the road kind of stuff. That the other products then start going up higher, and before you know it, now let's do some defensive pricing. So products start to and then it's just out of control. So like in Weimar, Germany, when they're the one everybody loves using, but
Yeah.
I mean, they were having some days where a product would go up 1,000,000% in a day, right? And I mean, it's laughable on paper because it doesn't go
Yeah.
up 1,000,000% in one day. They say that money's no good, and you're like, what if I had 1,000,000? They're like, fine, I'll give you a gallon of milk for 1,000,000 Dutch mark, or whatever it is, and then it gets recorded somewhere, right? But the reality is they're not really trading at 1,000,000. They're like, look, you give me something of value, give me that watch, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's third world stuff, right? So your currency really is everything. You lose the currency, you lose societal, things. It's bad. It's bad. But it's not that bad right now, and there are ways to get out of it, but we're really close. It's just not looking good.
Yeah, and I guess that's the next the next iteration, or the next obvious question is, okay, this is what's happening. I mean, look, you're an intelligent guy. I'm fairly literate. But there are a lot smarter people running things than you and I. So obviously, people in power know this is coming, know that it's there. So is this at this point, is it being done maliciously for, we've talked about it for a while, the CBDC potentially coming down the pipeline?
I've read quite a
matter.
few conspiracy theories. I'm going to call them that, even though they're masked as news articles.
100%, yeah.
Which got a lot more real today, by the way, when the news of Germany came out, where they were discussing blowing up a bridge in Crimea to further progress the act of World War III, to start to try and bring more nations into World War III. And it was literally openly discussed, and Germany just admitted, yeah, unfortunately, those were our generals, and they were talking about that, and we'll discipline them, etc. Shit.
That was
right?
Those were the guys that were speaking on unsecured video phones, right?
Yeah, let me tell you. So have you? I think so. Have you ever looked at those articles about how the rich people are buying places in New Zealand?
No, but I've seen a lot of stuff about them buying up in Hawaii.
Okay, if you look at a map and you look at where the United States is, right, and then you've got across the ocean, you've got Europe, and you've got Russia and China and all that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's all in the northern hemisphere, and those are really the nuclear nations. So if they were to bomb each other and the fallout goes up in the sky and falls out over there, it spares Australia and it spares New Zealand.
Huh.
Those two would most likely survive a nuclear holocaust. And there are a lot, if you just look at the map, trust me on this one, unless Brazil starts getting nuked, etc., right? But those,
yeah.
Right, then we're screwed. But for the nations we're really arguing about today, they would just be erased, and you wouldn't have the drain on resources. And we do know, based on some obelisks that were put up and destroyed recently, that there are some very rich people out there that want the population of the world to be like 20 million, I think it is, or 200 million, something like that, but for the whole world.
Yeah.
There are powerful people out there trying to do it. I mean, those there was a big investigation into who did those obelisks. You remember those? Do you remember those? And they got struck by lightning or something, and then they were demolished within like 3 hours because they said it was like anyway, it doesn't matter. Look it up. Some very, very rich people in the United States paid for a all time in granite obelisk to be put up. Anyway, this rabbit hole goes deep. Okay. And so, and I've started going down it, but then I get to a point where I'm like, this is getting so ridiculous that even if it is true, I don't want to know about it because I'd be living in fear my whole life. So I'm just not interested. Right. Yeah. And so, but there are some weird things going on. Sure. What do you think, man? What do you think things are going to look like?
I just honestly, and this is going to sound really weird. Honestly, I don't think that it's going to change anything for us.
Yeah. Honestly, that's the other thing, is that every time I think something crazy is going to happen, nothing does. The world keeps turning and we're fine. Yeah. So, I do think that if Japan, I think that if anything started a spiral, it would be Japan.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're tied deeply into our debts. They have a lot of
Mhm.
our bonds, and if they need to sell them all, they've already shown that they would,
Yeah.
and then that could be an issue. But I don't know. I'd like to think positive, and so let's do this. Um, the Fed is going to be very, very, very highly pressured to lower interest rates this year.
Yep.
And so if we're thinking about buying an asset that let's just say all this stuff does come true, right?
Yeah.
That will help you out. It's going to be a house, and
I'd argue dirt, but yeah, either way.
or dirt will help too. Actually, dirt would be probably a little more valuable than the house, depending on which scenario we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think by the end of the year, just same prediction I've been making for what 6 months now at least. I think by the end of the year, you're going to see rates in the fives. I really do.
That's a hell of a drop.
Well, I've been saying that for so long. What are we in now? March?
Well, but if you
Well,
remember,
honestly, we're in the high sixes, low sevens right now.
yeah, but you and I think the first show we did of the year, we both said that we think they're going to drop 1 percentage point this year.
Yeah. So if we're in the low,
get down in the fives. That's what we were
yeah,
both talking about.
definitely low sixes at this point, I would say. But it's gonna take some big headlines. Right now, the headlines are we're not dropping rates
Yeah,
at all, and it's also going to take the inflation to come down too. And if that comes
key.
higher,
That's the key is the inflation numbers.
we'll see. That's the biggest one. When that comes out, the next inflation number, that's going to be. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be huge.
Unless it's altered and then revised.
Well, unfortunately, they have too many metrics in there. The inflation they haven't been doing that with. They have been changing the definition of inflation.
I was about to say they've been manipulating inflation too.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I should shut up. Yeah, they have been doing that. Yes, they have. Pretty bad.
Well, and so and this and I'll wrap it. Well, God, we've been going for 30 minutes already. I was going to say that we can kind of wrap up with this, and this is in that conversation with the builder today, and she had mentioned something that I never really thought about. She goes, "Yeah," and this is a new home sales rep, and she's like, "Yeah, things shut off after interest rates spiked 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was." She's like, "Just people stopped coming in the door," and we talked about it, and her point was, they have to do something with rates because too much. Think about everything that revolves around housing.
I want you to think about what it feels like to own a home today compared to what it felt like in, say, the 50s, right? I feel like today it's something that you're going to sit on until you feel like another one, right? But back in the 50s, it was something to pay off, own, give off to your children, invest in.
Sure.
And I think if rates stay the way they are, buying a home will be a much more of a formal thing than it was before.
One of the, and we talked about this last week, I believe, one of the things that blew my mind is how the length of time that people are staying in houses now has gone up. I mean, not quite double, but I mean, it's like 60 or 70% more than it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's huge.
People are staying in their houses for like 12 and 13 years now instead of trading out every 6 or 7, which it had been, the whole time I was in real estate. So
yeah, I mean, we had a boom when people were told, "Hey, you're going to work from your house now." Who thunk, right? Who'd have thunk it, right? I mean, of course we did. I don't like my house for work. It was like a place to sleep, and now I got to spend all day here too. Like, let's get a bigger house. Let's go move someplace. What is normal today, right? We keep saying get back to normal. I don't think anybody knows what normal is.
No, we have no idea what normal is or what
crazy
normal
time.
used to be.
Yep, definitely crazy times.
Well, let's wrap it up there, man.
Oh, real quick, did you hear that they found the blueprints for COVID-19 that had been submitted to the Wuhan lab like prior to? Yeah, that came out in the news too, that they didn't find that it was approved, but the Wuhan lab had sent the blueprints for making COVID-19 and $23 million request for $23 million in funding in 2018. And that came out today. Smoking gun document, they're calling it. But so that, in other words, things are still crazy. You never know.
Yeah. The funny, well, and I've seen it talked about a few different ways and a few different times, but it's funny how kind of the more time goes by, all of the conspiracy theories are actually true.
I mean, a lot of them, right? It's messed
not
up. There,
all. I shouldn't say
God,
all.
there was one other article about just read the other day about a conspiracy theorist debunker, someone that debunks conspiracy theories, who actually ended up proving God, what did he end up proving? But he ended up proving by accident some huge conspiracy, and then like it made the news. Anyway, we can look that one up later, but we're running out of time here.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
All right, guys, and sometimes we just take tangents. Sometimes
I'm not sure where
talk
we're going with
about
that.
whatever the heck we feel like. But thank you, Carolyn, for the correspondence today. And guys, if you've got comments after the show, drop them in. We'll definitely see them and respond to you. If you got questions, we can do that. And if you're thinking about buying a house right now or land, give us a call. That's what we do. We're good at it. We're not just pretty faces.
Well,
yeah. Steve's kind of just a pretty face. We'll see y'all next week.